course, I was invited by the theater to make a video installation, as I normally do, taking as a starting point the Palace of Culture and Science, is the building where the theater itself is located in. And what was kind of the initial idea is to in this building that is a landmark of, let's say, a very controversial past, troubled past, and a controversial building, which is like a monument of utopian totalitarianism. I was wondering if at this point in history, I could infuse it again with some utopian energy, but a very different utopian energy of a kind of a crowd of community of people that together is filling it with some kind of idealistic meaning. And I worked out this idea of an occupation by a group of people, like a heterogeneous group of people, which is partly native Polish people, young and old, very mixed, and also with many people from Vietnamese background, because the Vietnamese group of immigrants is a very important group here. I was wondering if this group of people could work out, could form a certain kind of an occupation of this building, where they would occupy all the various rooms of the Palace of Culture, in a way to which I also described in the little talk. It relates kind of to the title Communitas, which is the title is a word which has been used in anthropology for not just meaning a community, but something in motion, something a dynamic, something of a group of a community that is forming itself, instead of a set of fixed social structure. So it is something which deals with an unstructured group that is on its way to becoming structured. And with this energy, I wanted to work. This group tries to organize itself, tries to find ways of representation, tries to form a democratic structure, of becoming a community and be together. And so different, of course, from what is communicated through the past from this building. What I found interesting about the building are a couple of things. First of all, was the way it's kind of completely isolated in the city, and there's this huge desert around it, urban desert around it. So it seemed to be completely disconnected from the environment. And then on the other hand, it's such a gigantic building inside, with all these different spaces, and it's like endless. And also in many of the spaces you have no sense of the outside. So it's almost like if you're in a huge rock where you go in, and it's like caves in a rock. So it is a very we would call phantasmagoric building. It's kind of inside. It's kind of a dream. If you also work in it for days, you kind of forget about the outside completely. So it's a very peculiar building in that sense. And also another thing that is really peculiar is the fact that it houses both political and representational spaces and theatrical spaces and places of performance, and that actually those spaces are very similar. I mean, of course, for instance, like the same kind of chairs and colors are used throughout the building, but the fact also the large party congress room has a structure of a theater, and is in a way the actual theater, Theater Dramatyczna, there is a very strong link in the way both spaces are constructed, although they had very different functions. Of course, it was also developed partly as a multifunctional space, the party congress, but also very much for the Communist Party. And this is an element which is also being used kind of in the piece, that somehow the rituals of power and or memories of rituals of power and on one hand, with a kind of theatrical performances are touching kind of with kind of pure beginnings of democratic processes. So and also how one changes into the other. So how the political implies very quickly the theatrical, and the other way around. And this is something which I try to work on with the people when I was working in these spaces, that it's, that of course, I was pointing out in this line that there is all this time that they try to become a community, but and kind of as an honest way and an equal way try to organize themselves. But on the other hand, they come in kind of a phantasmagoric cycle of something where you lose, and also if you watch the piece, I think where you lose sense of time and place, and you go from, it goes on and in different stages, and in this through this cycle, I think in the piece there appearing different moments, that some moments that almost look like they are kind of memories from the things that are in the past, that they almost look like some kind of celebrations from the past, and other moments there are kind of when they suddenly it looks like there's been something between sleeping and a kind of there's been a gas attack or something, like something with the bodies are suddenly something between resting and a victim, as if it's an image of fear of something that might happen with this occupation. So it kind of suddenly gives a feeling of there's some possible threat outside, and so there are all these kind of moments where all the actual processes of political processes are kind of almost interrupted by things that could be either something of the past or something projected in the future. And this is something which is put in motion by the actual building, because it had what I was describing. It has this kind of strange isolation and disconnectedness.